Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. We are from the Woodrow Wilson Group. We'll present about our chosen country, which is Brunei and Cambodia. Before that, our group consists of five members, which is Hersi Abdifit Hagar with matrix number 268879, Muhammad Amri bin Ismail 278834, Muhammad Hazrat bin Muhammad Jalani, which is me myself 277439. Number 4 is Vishalini anak perempuan Subramaniam 278333, and the last one is Jagadisan anak lelaki Chandra Segaran 280225. Okay, so first we go to the general background of Brunei Darussalam. Okay, Brunei Darussalam or Brunei is a Malaysian state located on the northwest coast of Borneo's island, and it is also bordered and divided by the eastern Malaysia. Brunei is a small country with a landmass of 2.226 square miles, and also it possesses substantial oil and natural gas reserve. And Brunei Darussalam also located along the strategically and economically important to the sea lanes of the South China Sea. Other than that, Brunei Darussalam is majority Sunni Muslim country with a population is about 420,000 people. Also largely ethnic Malays with a significant ethnic Chinese minority. And Bandar Seri Begawan is the capital of the Brunei Darussalam. And lastly, Brunei got independent on 1 January 1984.
For political background in Brunei, Brunei is a country that runs a system of absolute monarchy and adopt the English legal system, although Islamic Sharia law replaced the law in some matters and cases. Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah Muizzuddin Wad Daulah is the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei and also the Prime Minister of Brunei. As a Prime Minister, he was also the head of government. Other than that, he also holds the portfolio of the Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Ministry of Finance. The Sultan Brunei is the head of state and has had complete administrative authority since 1959, including emergency power. The political system in Brunei is determined by the constitution and based on the concept of Malay Islamic monarchy. The Malay Islamic monarchy is an ideology that was implemented after independence, which the Malay language and culture embed in the administrative system, Islam as the primary religion and way of life, and the monarchy as the head of state. Next, for economy in Brunei, Brunei is a country that adopts a mixed economic system. Based on that, Brunei is the largest producer of oil and natural gas and is said to be the third largest producer of crude oil and natural gas in Southeast Asia. Not only that, it is said that the production of crude oil and natural gas is a fully self-product resources, and Brunei is the largest exporter of crude oil and natural gas to the other country. In addition, to prove the validity of the above fact, Brunei is said to have processed oil as much as 118 barrels or 29,000 square meters in a day, and the production of crude oil and natural gas is also said to have affected most almost half of gross domestic product (GDP) and has surpassed the third world countries. Next, we also see in the term of Brunei cooperation at the global level, which is a booster to the country economy. Brunei has long been involved in the cooperation with other countries, such as countries in the East Asian Growth Region Cooperation Area in order to further expand the field of country's economic sector and be able to compete internationally. For tax policy in Brunei, in general, is viewed through the taxation system conducted in Brunei Darussalam, these countries receive the least tax if compared to other ASEAN countries in the region. This is because the tax allocation is only applicable to companies under the Income Tax Act 1949, and any other tax imposition is not borne by individuals, such as the absence of export tax, salary tax, sales tax, personal tax, or manufacturing tax. Although there is no tax is imposed on each individual, the people of Brunei Darussalam must contribute 5% of their salaries to a consolidated fund which is administered by the Brunei government, where the money will be used as a source of government revenue.
Okay, now we move on to the socialization in Brunei. The first aspect will be the total population in Brunei. Okay, Brunei recorded a total of 411,900 people, where 75% of them live in urban areas, while another 97% are said to live in rural areas, and overall there are 46,000 people live in city center, which is Bandar Seri Begawan. And the second one will be aspect of race. It is said that, namely the Chichong, Brunei Malay, Dusun Kedayan, Bisaya Murut, and Belayat ethnic groups are in Brunei. Brunei also has expatriates such as Australians and British. Okay, if we look in terms of Malays, it is said that the Malays control almost two-thirds of the population in Brunei in a percentage of 66.3. For the Chinese, the percentage for this race will be 11.2%. For the non-Malay indigenous community holds a percentage of 3.4%, and finally, other races holds a percentage of 19.1%. Okay, third one will be the aspect of religious practice. Okay, the religious practice in the Brunei country is majority embracing Islam as the official religion of the country, and the Sultan of Brunei himself became the head of the religion for the country of Brunei. This shows that the Muslim people, the Malays people are the majority people in Brunei. Apart from that, although Islam is the majority religion in Brunei, other religions are also practiced by followers of other religions. And then we move on to aspect of language views. Okay, in Brunei, Malay as official language and use this language to communicate in daily life. Interracial languages are also spoken such as Liban, Murut, Belayat, Bisaya, and others. The use of English language is also widely used, especially in the field of education. Okay, the last one will be the aspect of culture and heritage. Malay culture in Brunei is said to be similar to Malay culture in Peninsular Malaysia, where our Malay culture receives a lot of influence from Islam and Hinduism. Okay, Brunei ban, for example, this can relate by few information. For example, Brunei banned use of alcohol in the country, but this is neutral for non-Muslims or foreigners who came into Brunei, where they only allowed to bring 12 cans of beers and 2 bottles of spirits. And Brunei also banned pubs and nightclubs in early 19th century. Thank you.
Okay, next we go to the general background of the Cambodia. Okay, firstly, Cambodia is a country in the southeast China, which is Cambodia, also in the Gulf of the Thailand. And Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam are all the nearby countries beyond the Cambodia. Okay, so Cambodia is mostly made up of mountains in the southwest and the north, and the Mekong River and Tonle Sap Lake make up most of the rest of the country. Okay, so next, Cambodia also has the mixed economic system, which is self-described as a planned economy with market. The economy has a lot of private freedom, but it is also planned and regulated by the government. And lastly, is Cambodia is a part of an organization called the Association of Asian Nations, or we call it as ASEAN.
As for the political background in Cambodia, this nation is consists of constitutional monarchy, along which works along with the nation's parliamentary representative democracy. A constitutional monarchy is a system where a government's monarch shares power with a constitutionally organized government, such as parliament. In this constitutional monarchy, legislative holds the most power in the political aspects of Cambodia. The head of government, also known as the Prime Minister of Cambodia, is Hun Sen, who held this power since 1985. As for the current head of state, also known as the King of Cambodia, is His Majesty Norodom Sihamoni. The parliament in Cambodia is categorized as bicameral parliament, which has two branches: the lower house, also known as National Assembly, and upper house, known as the Senate. The National Assembly consists of 123 seats, which serves for 5 years term. As for the Senate, has 61 seats, which serve for 6 year term. The king in Cambodia is selected by special nine-member Royal Throne Council. After the retirement of current king, the selection process of the new king will be 1 week earlier before the retirement of the current king. The political party system in Cambodia in 1991 is adopted the multi-party system after the Paris Peace Agreement. However, after 1997, the multi-party system was transformed into hegemonic party system. In this said system, the Cambodian People Party is held the power, central power, where the opposition struggles to survive. This hegemonic party system is similar to the dominant party, and this term can be interchangeable. This hegemonic party system is defined where a ruling party system established monopoly in political arena, preventing officially legal opposition parties from contending them for power. This will be done by media dominance, patronage, coercion, or any other means. Other parties are permitted to exist, but they hold second-class rank. In dictatorship or communist nation, where one party is allowed to operate, this hegemony party system is never considered as one party system. For the voting system, the general election of Cambodia is held every 5 years on 4th Sunday of July. As for the economy in Cambodia, like Brunei, the nation's economy based on mixed economy system. The- and this nation's economy is heavily reliant on textile industry, which is the nation's biggest source of revenue. 80% of Cambodia export is generated by textile industry. In 2019, approximately $7.97 billion were textile exported by Cambodia. In terms of GDP, the textile industry of Cambodia contributed as much as 16%. And female employment in this industry is the highest among other industry as much as 91%. In addition, Cambodia is the only nation where monitoring and reporting system of textile industry is done according to national and international standards. As for the relationship with other nations, Cambodia is one of the Asian's nation, and it holds a strongest bond between Thailand and Vietnam. Thailand focused on import goods while Vietnam emphasized imports, not only imports but also exports of steel, iron, oil, and petrol to Cambodia. As for China, it, hold, it has history dated back 60 years diplomatic ties, where they have mutual political support each other. As for Japan, it's the nation that provide infrastructure and ICT development for the Cambodia. Apart from that, Cambodia's also have healthy relationship between South Korea and even Malaysia, as the both nations are the biggest investors for the Cambodia. As for the tax policy in Cambodia, there are two types of salary taxes applied in Cambodia, which the first one is a salary tax for residents, and another is Cambodian source salary tax for the non-residents. As for the employers, the minimum tax rate is from 5 to 20% based on the salary range. The non-residents are taxed at a constant rate of 20%. As for the consumption tax, it is based on the value added tax (VAT), which is 10% tax on most goods and services imposed. However, 0% tax is imposed on supporting industry and contractors who directly send their goods and services to exports. And, and some services that do not apply value added tax are the public postal service, medical and dental service, electricity, water, passenger transportation by state-owned public transportation, insurance service, finance, primary financial service, and land, which is quoted under the Law of Financial Management in 2017. As for the socialization in Cambodia, Cambodia is a sovereign country that homes to 17 million of its people, according to the Tourism of Cambodia stats in 1999. The, in accordance to their constitution, Buddhism is the official state religion of Cambodia, with more than 97% of the people are the followers of the said religion. Besides, the Cambodia consists of 30 hill tribes as well as some Vietnamese, Chinese, and Cham minorities. As for the history of uh, the official religion of Cambodia, it all began when in the year 1802, King Jayavarman II unite the Khmer Prince of Chenda together in the name of Cambodia, started the Khmer Empire, which lasts more than 600 years with success. This Khmer kingdom is heavily influenced by Hinduism and Buddhism religion, and this had caused the majority of the people practice Buddhism till now. Apart from that, this, this Indianization of uh, ancient Cambodian empire has led to a lot of religious building built in this land. One of the most famous one is the Angkor Wat, which is listed as one of the World Heritage Site. And Phnom Penh is the capital of Cambodia and is listed as the largest city of the nation. And it is also the center of country's government, economy, and culture spot. Cambodia is mostly consists of mountains in southwest and north, and Mekong River and Tonle Sap make up most of the rest of the country. Agriculture is still the biggest part of the economy, but textile, construction, clothing, and tourism also growing quickly to the nation, which leads to more foreign investment and trade.
Next, for general background about system administration of Brunei. In terms of system of government and administration, Brunei Darussalam is the only country in Southeast Asia that adopt a system of absolute monarchy based on Islamic law. Based on the system, the Sultan is responsible for holding office as the Prime Minister of Brunei, the head of religion and the head of government of Brunei. Sultan Haji Hassanan Bolkiah Muizzuddin Wad Daulah is the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei and also the Prime Minister of Brunei. Apart from that, he also held position in three cabinet ministry, namely the Ministry of Defence, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. After Brunei achieved independence, Sultan Haji Hassanan Bolkiah has introduced the Malay Islamic monarchy philosophy as the national ideology. Although this philosophy has long been practiced by the rule of Brunei since the reign of Sultan Muhammad Shah again, but this philosophy is necessary emphasized again strongly with the aim of increasing the loyalty of the people to the king and the country. Philosophy has been officially declared by His Majesty the Sultan and the Yang di-Pertuan Brunei Darussalam on 1st January 1984 as contained in the Declaration of National Independence Brunei Darussalam. Under the 1959 Constitution of Sultan is the head of state with full executive authority and is exist and advised by five councils, namely the Religious Council, the Privy Council, the Council of Cabinet Ministers, the Legislative Council, and the Council of Succession. Next, Brunei administrative system is centered on the Prime Minister's office. The Sultan has followed a combination of traditional and reforming policies, moving away from a structure of a chief minister and state secretary to a full ministerial system with specific portfolio. Sultan is advised by several council and cabinet of ministry, although he is effectively supreme ruler. There are two justice systems which run parallel to each other. One is presided by over the Supreme Court and the other by the Sharia Court. This Supreme Court comprises the Court of Appeal and the High Court. Criminal cases that do not carry a death sentence and less serious civil cases are conducted by the intermediate court before judge or subordinate court before magistrate. Appeal are heard by the Court of Appeal, which in criminal case in the final court of appeal. In civil case, however, appeal may be made to the Privy Council in the United Kingdom. Judges are appointed by the Sultan for 3 years term.
Okay, so next we go to the limited research in Brunei Darussalam. Okay, first of all, the first stage of limited research in Brunei Darussalam is traditional government. Okay, based on the traditional government, we can see that the country of Brunei Darussalam is a sultan country, and Brunei Darussalam also based on the custom and based of teaching of Islam. Okay, it's just not only that, the sultan also as an individual who leads the people as well as the head of the state in Brunei Darussalam. Apart from that, there is also other criteria in traditional administration in Brunei Darussalam, such as referring to the following: the administration is based on the Brunei Code, is a canon law from the legacy of Sultan Hassan. Then based on custom and tradition in Islamic law based on Islam. Another important matters here is the concept practice in terms of the relationship between the kings and the people, where the king gives good protection to the people while the people cannot disobey the king. Okay, based on the context of this government, we can say that at the present, Brunei Darussalam is experiencing a great political struggle, so that this problem has opened the door for James Road to seize the Brunei Darussalam, and this lead to Brunei Darussalam need to sign the Treaty of 1888, where the agreement promised Brunei to be under the auspices of British rule from any threats of external powers. Based on the struggle that took place in Brunei, the 1906 agreement was signed and a British resident was sent to advise the Sultan in all matters except matters affecting custom and also the religion of Islam. After Brunei received a British resident, then indirectly administrative system has shifted from the traditional administrative to the Western way of administration system. Okay, Brunei Darussalam after accept the change in terms of drafting and proclamation of the written constitution of Brunei Darussalam in 1959, where the implementation of this matter has great impact on the country, as it has successfully restored again the rule of Sultanate of Brunei, and at the same time has successfully established a system. The new administration is based on traditional as well as modern administration system. It's just not only that. With the establishment of 1959's constitution has also become the basis of the administrative and political system in Brunei, in addition to fully placing the rule of executive power of His Majesty the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan Negara. Although Brunei Darussalam is said to be able to govern and have full power over its own country as a result of the power possessed by the state of country of Brunei Darussalam, but other foreign powers still consider the country to be protectorate because of matters related to state affairs and defense. The country is still under the influence of the United Kingdom. Okay, date January 1, 1984, where the Brunei Darussalam has fully independent and become one of the best country of all time. Although Brunei Darussalam is said to have received various political problem, was conquered by enemy countries and was originally a large empire and eventually became a small country. However, Brunei Darussalam has managed to prove that the country is a great country where they're able to maintain their status quo as a great and sovereign nation, and a nation based on the supremacy of the constitution based on Islamic and the law.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day to madam and my fellow students. My name is Hirsi Abdiftah Hagar. My matric number is 268879. Today what I'm going to talk about is regarding our group assignment and specifically about the latest information in Brunei and Cambodia. I'm also going to talk and discuss about the significant issue in Brunei and Cambodia. First of all, let's start with Brunei, and I'm going to talk about its two subtopics which is going regarding the latest information and significant issue. First, we are going to start with the latest information. The most latest information about Brunei is that Brunei will have an early change of its cabinet ministers. Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah, the country's prime minister, said in a speech. In particular, Brunei's ministers for home affairs, primary resources and tourism, Haji Ali, and development, Haji Suhaimi, have been removed. The Sultan now serves as the prime minister, minister of foreign affairs, minister of defense, and minister of finance and economy, among other top three positions. For the first time ever in Brunei, the Sultan also elected a woman as the Prime Minister of Education in the cabinet. Her name is Datin Seri Baduka Dr. Haja Romaiza Haji Muhammad Saleh. Additionally, Brunei is a nation that genuinely cares about its people in order to lower the poverty level. The government has put in place welfare programs that can assist to assess how current economic policies and programs which are being implemented and improved can aid in the reduction of poverty in Brunei, so the country's poverty is not as terrible as it is in other nations. As a result, the government of Brunei will be able to fulfill its vision of 2035, which is linked to the Sustainable Development Goals, notably Sustainable Goal 1, which is to eradicate poverty in their nation. Next, we're going to talk about the significant issue of Brunei. The top problem, which received support from 91.1% of our study, which is oil and gas. Oil and gas are the main sources of government revenue as a major component of overall exports. The nation's economic prosperity is not sustainable due to the country's finite oil and gas supplies, which means is not infinite, and it will go and there will come a time when there will be no oil and gas in Brunei. Compared to other places, it also makes it more difficult to conduct business. If Brunei does not diversify, international investors will not come here to invest or will leave. Next, we're going to talk about the high employment issue. The high employment or underemployment and mismatch were rated as the core issue for the nation that the nation faces by Diana Gong's poll respondents, with 86.3% of them agreeing. About 6.9% of the population in Brunei was unemployed at the time, while young people made up 25.3% of the unemployed. Where the discrepancy between employment demand and job supply is 18%. The recent graduates who are looking for work that aligns with their degrees are impacted by this high unemployment rate, as do their other job seekers. Brunei's unemployment rate is projected to reach 9.50% in 2022, according to recent figures.
Okay, greetings to Madam and my fellow friends. My name is Vishali Subramaniam and my metric number is 27833. Today I would like to explain about the general background of Cambodia. Okay, first of all, we look into the system of governance of Cambodia. Okay, Cambodia is based on the constitutional monarchy, similar to the Malaysia's and United Kingdom's way of governance. The second one will be Constitution of Cambodia. According to the Constitution of Cambodia, the King of Cambodia exercises his power as the head of state along with the Supreme Commander of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces. Okay, third one will be the monarchy system. The monarchy system of the Cambodia practice elective monarchy, which the current head of state unable to elect his successor. Instead, it is decided by the Crown Council consists of 9 members who are Prime Minister, Presidents and Vice Presidents of the National Assembly and the Senate, and 2 supreme leaders and the Buddhist religious order who are Mahanikaya and Dhammayut Nikaya. Okay, Cambodia also practice 3 doctrine of separation of powers, same like Malaysia. The Parliament of Cambodia is the legislative body of Cambodia. Cambodia, which consists of lower house, which known as National Assembly, and the upper house, which known as Senate. Okay, the Senate is responsible for the review of National Assembly approved draft laws, and they should provide opinions on it, thus playing a key role in approval of legislation. Okay, the period duty of the Senate is 6 years, whereas the period duty of the National Assembly is 5 years. They are responsible for the making and approving of legislation. The execution body of the Cambodia is overseen by the Royal Government of Cambodia, which is also consists of the Councils of Ministers, with the Prime Minister as the head of executive. Okay, the responsibility in the execution of policies and providing input for the legislative draft is in the hands of the Council of Ministers. Okay, and then for the judiciary body, there are 2 elements for the judiciary body, which is the Constitutional Council and the Supreme Constitutional and the Supreme Council of Majesty. Okay, the power that the Constitutional Council held is the ability to make decisions regarding issues on the National Assembly and Senate members' election. The Supreme Council of Majesty consists of Chairman and the King of Cambodia and 7 members. One of them, especially the Minister of Justice, are responsible for electing judges and prosecutors, as well for enforcing discipline and order among judges and prosecutors. Okay, the 2 upper courts, which are Supreme Court and the Appeal Court, are located in the capital of the Cambodia, which is Phnom Penh.
Okay, so next we go to the limited research in Cambodia. Okay, so the first stage in limited research in Cambodia is Cambodia was a country under the French rule and also the Indo-China rules in 19th century, but however the awareness for independence led to the then king of the Cambodia, Sihanouk, to launch the Royal Crusade and also seek outside support in order to achieve national independence. This has been achieved because on November 9, 1953, Cambodia has achieved independence and subsequently liberate the country from the grip of Indochina and French. Okay, so after the victory, he formed a new party known as a Sangkong Rens Nyom, or we call that as People Socialist Community Party, where he held the post of Prime Minister for 15 years until the death of his father, and was later appointed head of state in Cambodia. Further, this is said to be short-lived, as in 1970, he was overthrown by U.S. force led by General Lon Non, and his defeat led him to retreat to Beijing and form a new government for purpose to reclaiming power, and the established government was given Cambodia Communist name. At the same time, General Nolon managed to control Cambodia, especially the capital that called Phnom Penh. Okay, so then In 1973, Sihanouk launched an attack on Cambodia, which was known as the Civil War between Sihanouk and also the General Lon Nol in Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, and this war lasts for 2 years. And in 1975, the Lon Nol government collapsed, and the Cambodia Communists has recaptured the Cambodia capital and reappointed Sihanouk as Cambodia government. Subsequently, 6 months later, Sihanouk resigned as head of the state, and the vacancy was replacement by his son, Prince Norodom Sihanouk. Earlier in 1991, an internet agreement was signed between the government and also the opposition parties to create a new national state of government. It's just not only that. As mentioned earlier, by 1993, elections were held, and while Sihanouk resigned, the task was taken over by the next leader, actually his own son, Prince Norodom Sihanouk.
Next, we're going to talk about the latest information in Cambodia. The Biden administration's temporary exemption of additional tariffs for solar cells and modules shipped from Cambodia and other 3 South Asian nations, which are Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia, for up to 2 years is the most recent information in Cambodia. Due to the risks to the availability of all inadequate power production capacity to satisfy anticipated consumer demand, this temporary exception has been issued. Furthermore, based on the most recent Cambodia Socio-Economic Survey for 2019 and 2020, Cambodia has recently revised its definition of poverty. The current national poverty level in Cambodia is 10.9%, or when you're going to talk about in terms of currency, it is average 2.7% per person per day, which we'll get. According to the new definition of poverty, 18% of the population is considered to be poor in Cambodia. The level of poverty varies by location as well. Being the capital of Cambodia, Pen has the lowest rate of poverty, while other urban and rural regions have rates that are greater than those in the city. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the significant issues in Cambodia. The probable discontinuation of the EBA program, the European Banking Authority, is the first significant problem that has an impact on Cambodia. The European Union gave Cambodia the trade privileges in 2001, since it was least developed nation among the others. The European Union said that Cambodia's European bank relationships with them, which is the credentials, have been terminated following elections conducted in July 2018. The European Union declared in 2019 that the 18-month process of removing Cambodia's from its status, which is we are talking about the European Union gave them, has been commerced. The second problem affecting Cambodia is its deteriorating ties with the US, or the United States of America. And United States of America and Cambodia have a love-hate relationship that will never end. There are geopolitical reasons why the American government is interested in Cambodia. Obama presidency saw once a strengthening of ties between the USA and Cambodia. However, after Cambodia claimed that the United States was planning to undermine the Cambodian government by backing the opposition party, ties between the two countries have soared. Another problem facing Cambodia is that the lack of economic diversity is high in higher education, and technical and vocational education and training is another problem that concerns Cambodia. The textile industry, tourism, we have the construction, we have the agriculture, and provide the majority of the government's funding. The last issue, which is the last issue I'm going to talk about, is that Cambodia's economy is diverse, with the exception of higher education, which is a problem. Technical and vocational education and training problem. In Cambodia, higher education play a significant role in economic growth, changing the need for human resources and the economic structure. Workers in the Cambodian industry are unqualified that because of this problem, which is there's no diversity in the country, which is because they don't have the skills to work in the industries I've just mentioned right now, which are the tourism, we have the vocational education, we have the training and the employment. As a result, there aren't enough applicants for the open positions due to talent mismatch. Cambodia lacks diversity in its higher educational program and technical and vocational education and training and employment program outside of agriculture, tourism, building, and textiles. That's all from my part today, and I hope we learned something from the relationships in Cambodia and the issues which are the latest information and significant issues, and also regarding Brunei, its latest information and significant issues. That's all from me today. Thank you very much.
Okay, so next we go to the similarities that has between the Brunei Darussalam and Cambodia. Okay, so we can see the two significant similarities between Brunei Darussalam and Cambodia, which is the first one is the mixed economic system. Okay, based on the mixed economic system, Brunei Darussalam and Cambodia use a mixed economic system where the main economy in Brunei is sourced from the Brunei Darussalam's own natural resource, namely wealth in terms of oil and natural gas production. And this natural product will be import and export to the other countries, while Cambodia will focus on their economy on the agricultural sectors such as rice production. And as in Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia also conducts export and import activities to the other countries. Okay, so next we go to the second similarities, which is the king and the prime minister. Okay, these second similarities are possessed by Brunei Darussalam and Cambodia is in terms of administrative power possessed by the two countries concerned at the executive level. Okay, based on the two countries, it can be said that both countries has a king as well as the prime minister, and the similarities that will be highlighted here are not in terms of the power they hold, but in terms of context of the position they hold. Through the state of Brunei Darussalam, the king, or we call as Yang di-Pertuan Brunei, is an individual who hold the position as the head of the state, while the prime minister is the individual as known as we call them as a head of the government. Okay, this is the same happen in the Cambodia, which is the king is an individual who is called to hold the position as the head of the state, while the prime minister is an individual who hold the position as the head of the government.
Okay, now let's move on to the differences in between Brunei and Cambodia. Okay, Brunei and Cambodia has total of 4 differences, and I would like to explain about 2 of them, which are the system of government in administration and also the ideology in administration. Okay, first of all, Brunei is the first country in Southeast Asia that adopts a system which is absolute monarchy based on Islamic law. That also since the reign of the Sultan Muhammad Shah till now. Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah Muizzuddin Badaullah is the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei, and also the Prime Minister of Brunei, who is responsible for holding office as the Prime Minister of Brunei, the head of religion and the head of government of Brunei. Okay, as the Prime Minister, he was also the head of government. Apart from that, he also holds positions in 3 cabinet ministers, namely the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Finance and Economy, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Okay, now we move on to Cambodia. In Cambodia, the system of government and administration implemented is based on constitutional monarchy similar to Malaysia's and the United Kingdom's way of governance. Okay, according to the Constitution of Cambodia, the King of Cambodia, His Majesty Norodom Sihamoni, asserts his power as the head of state along with the Supreme Commander of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces. Besides, the King of Cambodia does possess the power to disband the National Assembly with the agreement of the President of the National Assembly and grant amnesty. Okay, the second differences will be the ideology in administration. Okay, ideology in administration in Brunei is Malay Islamic monarchy MIB philosophy as the national ideology. After Brunei achieved independence, the Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah, who is the Sultan of the Brunei, has introduced the Malay Islamic monarchy MIB philosophy as the national ideology on 1st January 1984. And this philosophy is necessarily emphasized again strongly with the aim of increasing loyalty of the people to the king and the country. As described in the description in the monarchy systems and power in administration, the practice of power in Brunei is based on the absolute monarchy where all the powers are concentrated under the sultan. Okay, now we move on to the Cambodia. Okay, the ideology which used in Cambodia is based on constitutional monarchy, and the monarchy system of Cambodia practice elective monarchy, which the current head of state unable to elect his successor. Instead, it is decided by the Crown Council, consists of 9 members who are the Prime Minister, Presidents, Vice Presidents of National Assembly and the Senate, and 2 supreme leaders of Buddhist religious order who are Mahanikaya and Damayut Nikaya. Okay, and then the Cambodia also practice 3 doctrine of separation of power similar to Malaysia because it is a constitutional monarchy. It has the separation of power, which consists of legislative body, judicial body, and also the executive body. Thank you.
Moving on to the next difference between Brunei and Cambodia is in their poverty line. For the Brunei, it is the only country that cares about their citizen and they make efforts to decrease the poverty line. And in Brunei, the poverty is not as bad as other nations because the government has took initiative to implement welfare programs to help them to analyze current economic policies and program, which have been implemented and further improve it with those said welfare programs. This could aid Brunei in reducing poverty, and this they do so to achieve their vision 2025, which correlates with the sustainable development goals, particularly the first sustainable development goal, which is to end poverty in the nation. Besides, Brunei citizens also receive benefits from government provided welfare system, which covers most of the cost of living, such as the state security, and the availability of gas, clean, clean water access a conducive environment, and readily available domestic aid, free education, and healthcare. This makes Brunei is an ideal living environment for their citizens. Moving on to Cambodia, this nation has recently redefined their poverty line, which they used the recent socio-economic survey from 2019 to 2020. Their national poverty line in Cambodia is currently 10,951 real, which is equivalent to two US dollar and 70 cents per day for each individual. According to this poverty line, there are approximately 80% of population is identified as poor, and that too depends on specific regions as well. In Phnom Penh, which is the capital city of Cambodia, the poverty rate is ranked the lowest because as I mentioned before, it is the capital of Cambodia, and other rural area is the opposite, which is higher in percentage. The next difference I'm going to talk about for this both nation is the unemployment rate of those both nations. Starting off with Brunei, it this nation is currently facing the one of the high unemployment, underemployment, and also job mismatch, as much as 86.3% agreement of people, according to Diana Chong survey. However, during that time, the Brunei's unemployment rate was around 6.9% to 25.3% among young people, while the mismatch, while job mismatch is around 18%. The root cause of the unemployment is due to the lack of varieties and filtration of jobs in public sector. These high employment rates also may affect the freshly graduates and also other people who are searching for work to match with their education standards. And in recent statistics, the future forecast of unemployment rate in Brunei in upcoming 2022, it will be around 9.5%. As opposed to Brunei, Cambodia's unemployment rate is extremely low. The unemployment rate of youths and adults among Asian countries, Cambodia ranked the lowest in unemployment with a percentage of 1.28%. According to a study by Tang and Lee in 2021, the rate of unemployment is considered low from 2013 to 2017, with 0.30% recorded as highest in 2013, while 2015 to 2014 to 2016, it recorded the lowest, as much as 0.18%. The fifth and final difference I'm going to talk about for both nations is the economic diversification of both Brunei and Cambodia. First of all, Brunei, in case of Brunei, the nation failed to diversify their economic supply, as the Brunei's governance Brunei's governance rely on exports of oil and gas as their primary revenue source. This could this revenue source is not sustainable for the nation because the fossil fuel is known to it can be depleted within a few decades or even a few years or even decades. The lack of diversity could lead to foreign investor unable to cannot find any reason to invest in Brunei or even stay in Brunei due to the nation's failure to diversify their economy. While in contrast, Cambodia's government, the revenue source is based on textile, tourism, construction, and agriculture. They have their diversity except in higher education and technical and vocational education and training, which is TVET. In Cambodia, both higher education and TVET plays an important role in economic development, where it could change economic structure and their demand for human resource. However, the laborers in Cambodian industry lack TVET qualification. Hence, this cause skill mismatch, which hinders them to able to apply positions which positions they wanted to be in their job.
In conclusion, we can conclude that following facts about the both country Brunei and Cambodia. Okay, in regards to Brunei, we can conclude that although it follows the English legal system, Brunei also has an absolute monarchy and occasionally substitute Islamic Sharia law for it. The Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei, Sultan Haji Hassan al-Bolkiah Muizzuddin Wadullah, is also the country's prime minister. Brunei is the third biggest country producer of crude oil and natural gas in Southeast Asia and the greatest producer of natural gas. As for Cambodia, we can conclude that the constitutional monarchy that governs Cambodia functions as a parliamentary representative democracy. The legislature under Cambodia's constitutional monarchy has the biggest influence on the country's politics. This is similar to Malaysia and Brunei. Cambodia's economy is founded on a mixed economy model.